Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. This is Courtney, the Marketing Coordinator here at AIM. Today's webinar will be recorded and later posted on our website. This does mean that all attendees will be automatically muted so that we can get a quality recording. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them into the chat box. We'll try to answer them throughout the presentation, but if we're unable to get to all of them, we'll have a member of our team reach out to you individually. Our newest agent resource, the 2-Minute Minute, is in full swing. The marketing team is bringing you quick hit ways to talk to more prospects, write more business, and grow your agency. We're posting new videos every Monday and Wednesday, so check out your social media pages, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube to see what you might have missed. In some episodes, we even reference exclusive offers. Our next upcoming webinar is next Wednesday, June the 28th, and it will be presented by Derek, one of our marketers here, and he'll be going over guaranteed issue products. So with that, Dawn, I'm going to hand it over to you so you can do a little introduction.
Thank you, Courtney. As always, greatly appreciate everything you do and getting this started. Good morning, everyone. Don Erickson here today with American Independent Marketing. Just wanted to get everybody started. We have a special guest again with us today, Bridget Collins with OneAmerica. She's going to go over, I think, great products and more or less the percentages and different things that we're going to go through today. Good morning, Bridget. How are we today?
Good morning, Don. Doing great. Thanks so much for having me on. And thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. Yeah, I'm going to run through, a little bit of some new information, hopefully that's applicable to everybody on the line as far as having long-term care planning conversations with your clients. We went ahead, OneAmerica, I should say, let me make sure there we go. And we did a financial professional planning study. And if you want access to the full study, there is the QR code on the right-hand side of the screen, and you'll see that periodically throughout the presentation this morning. You can scan that to get the full, all of the data that we went through. But there was some really good information that came out of this financial planning study that we partnered with. And it kind of is apropos to the title of our webinar today, which is, why should the 70% matter? You're going to see the 70% statistic probably throughout some of the data points that we're going to go through this morning, and certainly, some of the things that we've heard from an industry. So just thought that this would be appropriate to talk through as today is the first day of summer in 2023. I'm not quite halfway through the year, but pretty darn close. But a really good time to start, if you haven't, to start talking about long-term care planning with your clients that you're working with. And additionally, because of what happened with the WA cares in the state of Washington and what is on the horizon for the state of California, we need to talk to every client we have the opportunity to be in front of about the plan for long-term care, what's coming down from a state standpoint, what we can offer independently so that all of our clients can make what I'm coining as informed decisions. But let's go ahead and jump into this financial planning study because some of this information is pretty interesting to take a look at. Let me make sure here. All right, so did you know asset-based long-term care products are viewed more positively than traditional long-term care insurance by financial professionals. So again, remember the audience here was financial professionals. So we're talking about asset-based solutions like what OneAmerica offers versus traditional long-term care insurance. There's still some notable carriers in this space. Amongst financial professionals, asset-based solutions are viewed more positively. And we can talk about probably why that is to a lot of different degrees. I represented a traditional long-term care insurance carrier for 20 years. So I know that space inside out and backwards. And I've been lucky enough to be with OneAmerica for the past 5.5. And one of the things that comes to mind with regard to the difference for those that are not familiar is the word guaranteed. And that's guaranteed premiums in particular. There are other guarantees built into the contract, but guaranteed premiums, I never thought in a million years when we were talking about long-term care insurance premiums that I would be able to associate that with the word guarantee. Because in the traditional space, those premiums are not guaranteed. In fact, the guarantee is that they're likely to increase. I think the carriers selling traditional long-term care insurance have done a good job of understanding past mistakes and have sort of built into their portfolios a modest increase. But my estimation is that those premiums will increase, if not year over year, every couple of years. And that's just something that your clients need to understand. The difference with asset-based solutions is that, and in particular with OneAmerica, the premiums are guaranteed. So not only for any of our recurring premium solutions, and we have quite a few with OneAmerica. So I'm going to interweave some of the things that OneAmerica has that might make us a little bit different than other carriers in the space. We can do things like a 5-pay, we can do a 10-pay, 20-pay, we can do a pay to 95, or I kind of quantify that as a lifetime pay. We have those options available in addition to the single premium. Any of those recurring premium solutions, those premiums are guaranteed. And certainly with the single premium solution, there are no internal charges that can be raised as well. So those values are guaranteed. So guarantees in the asset-based and the asset-based space, it's not surprising to me that financial professionals who are familiar with both might think more positively towards asset-based solutions. And you can see the breakdown: traditional life insurance with long-term care benefits and annuities with long-term care benefits. And we can see the awareness, right? So to highlight for you that annuity with LTC benefits, not as much awareness on those options as I personally would like to see. And certainly OneAmerica is one of the few asset-based carriers, I think there's only one other that comes to mind, that offers an annuity-based policy with a long-term care rider. So things for you guys to consider, sort of what the knowledge base is out there. Let me go ahead and move on here. So what are the preliminary selling points of long-term care insurance? This is sort of those conversation starters to have with clients. And are we removing financial burden from the family, providing financial security, ensuring clients receive adequate care, client health concerns? So it seems that, based upon the study, removing the financial burden from the family is the primary concern or primary selling point of long-term care insurance. And that's certainly, I mean, having lived through it several times personally, the financial burden is huge. What I would want to talk about a little bit with respect to plan design when you talk about financial burden, I mean, and Dawn, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I mean, in today's environment, in today's marketplace, it's highly unlikely you're going to be able to put a plan design together for a client that's going to likely cover 100% of any of your client's potential needs. And there's a lot of what if words I just used because there's a lot we don't know, right? So, I mean, go ahead, Don, if you wanted to add in.
It's hard to say, it's hard to say you're going to get 100% coverage at any point, but you're trying to do the best you can for each client, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's just because we just don't know the varying degrees of the long-term care event or extended health care event that any one of our clients is going to have. So, there's no, slice and dice plan design when it comes to long-term care planning. I mean, back in the day, I would say I used to run illustrations all the time, and there sort of was a basic plan design that we ran sort of all the time. In today's environment, and certainly with asset-based solutions, these are customized, and that's a good thing. So these are customized to the individual clients that you're working with, what their goals are, and these are all of the things that we all need to uncover with our clients, and so with what their expectations are from a long-term care insurance policy, and then plan accordingly. But a lot of, like the study shows, is the primary selling point is to remove the financial burden from the family. And if anybody has lived through it, no matter where you are in the country, care in a facility, no matter what type, care at home, it's expensive. So even if you've got something that can supplement or offset the majority of the cost, then in and of itself will remove a lot of that burden from those that are left. They're going to have to be paying for it. All right, so let's go to the 3 most common barriers to recommending long-term care insurance. I'm sorry, Don, did you want to say something?
No, I 100% agree. If you've been through it at all with, a lot of people have seen it, but if you haven't seen it firsthand, a lot of times, when you're working with clients that they're saying, oh yeah, we've got it covered, we can do this or not that. But I tell you what, knowing it firsthand, seeing it firsthand, having to spend down with my father-in-law for him, and having my wife actually be a caretaker for him for many years, the burden it put on her and the stress it put on her. I tell you, if you've seen it firsthand, I know you've kind of dealt with the same thing over time, with your own family. Just getting something that can take care of that kind of stuff is tremendous help.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think, especially for plan design, when you're, and I'll summarize some of the advantages that OneAmerica offers, but one of them, and if anybody has heard us talk before, or familiar with our solutions, it's lifetime benefits. And when you can put a plan design together for your clients that is an unlimited benefit pool, they're never going to run out. If you can put a plan design together that has a monthly benefit that's consistent for the rest of their life, they and their family can likely figure out how to supplement the cost if their care needs exceed what their policy is going to cover. But the guarantee of a particular monthly benefit for the rest of someone's care needs, the rest of their life, essentially, I can't tell you how invaluable that is. It's one of those old commercials, the priceless benefits. It's priceless in my estimation, especially with what I've been through and what so many people go through when putting care in place for their family members. So lifetime benefits, OneAmerica. There's only one other carrier in the long-term care space that offers lifetime benefits, and it's on the traditional side, and that's with NGL. My soapbox on that is let your clients know that it's an option that you have for them, and let your clients make the decision. But they don't know what they don't know, and if they don't know that lifetime benefits is available to them, then we've probably missed the mark a little bit, because there's going to be a lot of folks out there who are going to be very interested in looking at a plan design that offers lifetime benefits. And that goes into these common barriers. It's expensive. Yeah, long-term care insurance, look, it can run the gamut, right? It all really comes down to the funding source. So how your clients are going to pay for long-term care insurance. And this is where, I'm a believer in long-term care planning. So whether it's OneAmerica's asset-based solutions or a traditional long-term care insurance plan, there's room for both. There's positive and negatives there's for both, I'll say, potentially, and expense may be one of those. So certainly, traditional long-term care insurance is going to be less expensive than an asset-based solution when you're going head-to-head paying cash. What an asset-based solution allows for, and certainly with OneAmerica, a lot of flexibility in how the plans are funded. So it's not just a cash play. And again, this goes back to when you have the conversations with your clients about long-term care planning. Without an insurance policy, let's take insurance out of the conversation entirely at first. It's what asset are they going to access to pay for their care? That's just a fundamental question, a part of the plan. And in that sort of discovery type conversation, you might find whether have assets sitting in a CD or a savings account or an annuity or in an old life cash value in an old life insurance policy, whatever it may be. And you might be able to then pivot to a insurance solution that provides better leverage on the dollar, and also buys them all of the things that come with a long-term care insurance policy, certainly with OneAmerica, and that's access to the claims concierge and help when the time comes when you need to actually claim. So common barrier, it's expensive. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how to pay for it without insurance first. And again, that's all in that discovery. And then clients are ensured that they need it. Okay. We hope they don't, right? I've said for 25 years that this isn't insurance. I really hope that none of my clients ever have to access. I really hope. Certainly with an asset-based solution, that's even better, because if they don't have to access it, they're leaving a death benefit, and a pretty good one in most cases, to their beneficiaries or to their estate if they've never used it for long-term care insurance. But statistics tell us 70% of people over the age of 65 are going to have some type of extended care support need. It's just reality. So the question comes to your clients, are you the 70%? Or are you going to be the 30%? And again, we don't know. So it would be sort of irresponsible to plan for every client automatically being in the 30 because they might think they don't need it. Let's talk about what that picture really looks like. And again, informed decisions so that your clients know where they land with that. And then clients have competing financial priorities. I think this goes back to funding, right? So how would you fund an extended healthcare event without insurance? Given that answer, is there a way that we can take that funding source and put it into an asset-based long-term care solution that makes more sense? One of OneAmerica's advantages, we also take qualified funds. We're, I think, still the only carrier in the marketplace to do that. Huge advantage for folks being able, over 59 and a half, being able to tap into their 401ks, pull a little bit out, and fund a long-term care insurance policy. So lots of flexibility there. And then cost versus repositioned assets, helping your clients see the value in an asset-based long-term care protection. You'll hear a lot of times I've said this, and my colleagues have said this, and we're moving from the left pocket to the right pocket. We're just taking this asset that they likely would have used anyway to pay for care. We're moving it over to the right pocket, because on the right pocket, we can leverage the premium on the dollar and provide them greater long-term care benefits than what they would have had if they just accessed it from where it originally sat. Pretty simple concept when you're talking to clients, especially about long-term care planning. So this is something else that I thought intriguing in this study. You know, how many of your clients have you talked to? So only 54% of financial professionals are currently recommending or offering long-term care protection. So it doesn't matter for today's purposes if you are or you are not. What this tells me is the opportunity for all of us to talk more rigorously to our clients about long-term care planning. This circle should be made orange. If I could have my way, it would be made orange yesterday. And here's the thing, my colleagues and I talk about this all the time. If we can talk about solutions, we can talk about this plan design, we can talk about how we're funding it, we can talk about, you know, where OneAmerica lands in comparison with other carriers in the marketplace, asset-based solutions compared to long-term care solutions. If we get to that point in the conversation, then I am dancing on cloud 9, because at the end of the day, we need to get there, right? I mean, we need to have the long-term care planning conversation. I have a hashtag that I created: every client, every time. Every client you have has a story, whether it's firsthand, whether it's with a parent, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend. If they're younger clients and they maybe don't have their own personal story yet, but they're like without, you know, maybe they have elder family members that they're going to be responsible for. All kinds of, it does never hurt to have the conversation with every client. So again, let's do that. And then if we want to contrast and compare and run quotes, I'm happy to entertain all of that, because we just need to do a better job of getting to that point. There's a statistic that I use all the time. I've probably said it to this audience before if you've heard me talk. It's the 10% market penetration, and that only 10% of Americans over the age of 65 have a private long-term care insurance policy in place. And that number, I remember probably 15, 20 years ago, that number was about the 8 to 9% range. Okay, so we've gotten up to 10%. And it's remained that way for years now. There's, again, so what I'm gonna reposition that, it's opportunity. Right? It's opportunity. There is a lot of opportunity to talk to folks about long-term care planning, ultimately landing in a long-term care insurance policy if it makes the most sense for those clients. So let's do a better job of talking about it. And let's keep in mind that a lot of people are, I don't want to say uninformed. That has I'm a word person, and that has a negative connotation to me, but they don't know what they don't know. And it's our job to help them with that. All right. So let's talk about the top 3 reasons financial professionals might recommend asset-based protection versus traditional. Talk about asset-based unused amount passes to their heirs. I talked about that. If they never use it for long-term care coverage, if they're one of the lucky ones, they've got a death benefit that pays back. Combines life insurance with long-term care benefits. Talked a little bit about this before. Look, this is a long-term care insurance policy. To me, it's a long-term care insurance policy that happens to have some life insurance attached to it. It is not a life insurance play. I say that in one regard, and then I've had people come back to me and say, you know, because of how we underwrite, they were able to use our solution as a life insurance play because they couldn't get their client any other life insurance out there. So I'll leave that up to you guys. If you're in that space and you run life insurance quotes and you're having trouble, maybe it is an opportunity there, but this is really long-term care insurance, and I really wanted to drive home that point. And lastly, on the asset-based long-term care, the tax advantages of repositioning assets. So we could talk, we have a whole other webinar we can do on the tax advantages of long-term care insurance, from your business owners down to your individual taxpayers, some of the fun things they can do with HSA dollars, but all of those exist in the asset-based solution in that arena, if you will. And then on the traditional side, it's easy for clients to understand. To use it or lose it policy, you either need it for long-term care insurance or you don't. Clients have heard of it, the traditional long-term care insurance. Maybe, I'm going to say maybe they've heard of it. Maybe they know enough to be dangerous. I'm going to say clients likely have heard of long-term care insurance, and they probably don't understand or know the differentiation between the two. And then the lower cost. So kind of leading back to the space for traditional long-term care insurance, and I'm an advocate for the plan. Traditional long-term care insurance is less expensive, for sure. So if you're working with clients where, an asset-based solution just isn't, within the means, traditional long-term care insurance might be a better route to take. And you can put together a plan design that's reasonable and affordable, and helping them sort of mitigate those costs when it comes time to have an extended healthcare event. So these are just the reasons that the folks that we polled might look at one over the other. And then if we hone in on the asset-based LTC protection and the top 5 features that are most appealing to those that we pulled, the tax-free benefits. So no matter which solution you use, and I really want to hammer away at this for our annuity care. So I talked about our life insurance with long-term care benefits, and I mentioned our annuity care with long-term care benefits. On the annuity side, keep in mind, because of the Pension Protection Act, those benefits, when they are paid, are tax-free. So if they're doing a 1035 exchange, there's no tax consequence to moving it from an existing annuity into our annuity care plan. So they're good there. And those long-term care benefits are also then paid out tax-free. Our life insurance, on the life insurance space, they're tax-free as well. But I really wanted to hammer away at that annuity care, because sometimes people are thinking annuities, when it gets used, there's going to be tax consequence. There isn't. So there's some advantages there. Premiums don't increase. I talked about that already. We can combine life insurance with long-term care benefits. So again, if you hold up 2 hands, and when you're thinking in terms of OneAmerica's solution, there's a base policy and there's a rider. That's simple. Base policy is either life insurance or an annuity base. And then the rider is the continuation of benefits rider. It's a true 7702B long-term care policy. The 2 combined make your asset-based solution. There are opportunities where a base policy might make sense for the right client. So don't assume that you have to do both. I'll tell you, our data tells us that somewhere, I think it's over 80% of our policies have both the base and the rider, but that also tells you there's about 20%. Don't quote me on our numbers, by the way, but I think I'm pretty close. There's about 20% that are base only. So there's opportunity for both, but that's what our asset-based solutions do. Able to pass the unused amount to clients' heirs. Again, if they don't use it for long-term care insurance at all, or only use it a little and still have the death benefit available, or there's a remaining amount in the death benefit that gets paid back to their heirs. And the flexible payment options. I mean, I can rattle those off to you, but I'm gonna do it one more time, just because I want you to think in terms of OneAmerica. Again, I'm fairly confident we are probably the most flexible when it comes to funding options. So we can do cash, and in the cash play, we can do single premium. In most states, not California, we can do 5-pay, 10-pay, 20-pay, pay to 95. We can take qualified funds. We can take 1035 exchanges off of cash value in both life insurance policies and in annuities. So almost any way you can slice and dice it, we can likely find a way to use their funding source into one of our solutions. So just keep that in mind. I threw this in here, sort of some of the other things that sort of stand out for OneAmerica. Lifetime benefits. I've hopefully talked about that enough. I will talk about it all day long until I'm blue in the face. Mostly just because I'm a conservative person by nature, right? You might not know that about me unless I tell you or unless you ask. I like guarantees. I do. I will pay more for a guaranteed option, and this goes down to even my cable bill, than to try to, nickel and dime that a little bit and do something less or do something that's okay. So I like lifetime benefits. My dad also had dementia, and I know the value of being able to have the security of knowing that his coverage would never have run out had he had lifetime benefits. The joint option, we're basically a 2-for-1 with our solutions. So not quite dollar for dollar, but pretty darn close. If you've got two folks, whether that's a same-sex couple or a married couple or partners in life, if you can run them, we're very competitive in the individual space from a pricing standpoint. However, if you put the two of them together, it's not quite a 2-for-1, but it's pretty darn close. I've talked about the flexible funding solutions, and then the care benefit concierge. That's another sort of one of those priceless benefits. Our team does a phenomenal job of walking your clients through the claims process. And having lived through this firsthand with another carrier, it's an invaluable resource. It's why I believe the wealthiest of clients that you could work with would want to have a long-term care insurance policy, specifically with OneAmerica, because I can speak firsthand to our care benefit concierge team to help walk through the claims process, because it can be a nightmare. I'm just going to be straight up. It is not a very easy process for a family member to have to coordinate and go through. And OneAmerica handholds the family, the client, the insured through the entire process. So again, one of those other priceless benefits that I cannot say enough about that makes OneAmerica different, I believe, in the space.
Yeah.
All right.
Bridget, in saying that concierge thing, I tell you what, if you've been through anything and you've noticed, or even if you haven't, that is, like you said, it's a resource that is amazing to have available, that they're going to help you walk through it, seamlessly, instead of having to just mud through the water and just, it can be very clunky. So the more user-friendly available stuff you can use, that care coordinator is an option you want to make sure you have available. And OneAmerica being able to have the access to use it the way they can and help you with it, it's hands down, you can't beat it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this I thought was interesting but not surprising. So the types of clients that ask you, right? So I'm hopefully everybody has heard, well, maybe you haven't heard before, in the marketplace, when we are always interested in a producer's, an agent's first long-term care insurance sale, and always interested in a lot of different aspects, but one of them being, how did the sale come about? Did the client ask you, or did you bring it up to the client? Look, there's nothing wrong with either, really. I mean, at the end of the day, if we're planning, we're planning. But when you talk about, which clients are asking about long-term care insurance, when it tells you 73% of them have lived through an experience. They have loved ones that have had an experience with a long-term care event, right? So those are the folks like me, like Dawn. We've had firsthand experience. This is not something I can't tell you how many times I've said to my husband in the last 8 months, we're not doing this to our kids. We are not, and it's no fault to my family members. You don't know what you don't know, but I'm like, there's some improvements that I saw firsthand that I would want to make it easier on my children. And yeah, I mean, I've been in this space for 25 years, and I'm still going to rely on my children to help coordinate things, but hopefully we've made it easier for them to do it. But yeah, so we've experienced it so that we know. These other categories, if you look at them, under 60% for all of the others, recently diagnosed, about to retire, no loved ones to provide care. But these are low percentages of clients that are proactively asking about long-term care insurance. Again, back to that opportunity, I would love to get to these guys before they get to us. The 73%, that's going to happen throughout, right? Because they know, these people know what it's like firsthand to witness it, and they want to do something to protect themselves and to protect their families from it. Everybody else, I just see a lot of opportunity out there. Let's get to these guys before they come to us about long-term care planning. And the young and proactive, I'm not surprised that number is low, but again, I always say, when you're talking to, and this is a sales idea, if you're working with generational families, it's a lot of times in our business how that happens. If there isn't a long-term care in place, policy in place, or long-term care plan in place for mom and dad, automatically that their policy is their kids, right? So if you're talking with younger kids, early 40s, mid 40s, maybe they're not ready to pull the trigger for themselves. They want to talk about it, they want to think about it, but mom and dad maybe are still super healthy, but mom and dad don't have a long-term care plan in place either. So that can be an opportunity for the children to purchase policies. Let me clarify that. Pay for the policy for their parents, because without doing so, they're the default plan. Again, that's just another thing to have in the back of your mind as far as the conversation goes. But there is opportunity there. We've actually seen that happen a lot, certainly within the last couple of years. A lot of, sort of, I don't want to say wealthier children, but children who had the means to pay for policies for their parents, because their parents, for whatever reason, didn't pull the trigger on that, and that's what they felt was the more responsible thing to do. But anyway, good data here to talk about this, to kind of outline for us the opportunity that's out there. And then, are you having conversations with the right people? Clients whose children are unlikely to help with long-term care. That one kind of makes me laugh. Obviously, with I know, right? I guess every family's different. Children unlikely to help. I mean, I think children will help to the degree that they can. I think sometimes we just don't know. I'm speaking firsthand here. We just don't know what that help's going to consist of, and it can be a lot. So I don't know that we're ever going to uncover the clients that we have whose children are unlikely to help with long-term care. I mean, that's interesting statistics, but I think moreover, it's just having the conversation about, what the plan is, who's going to execute the plan. If it's not long-term care insurance, who's going to not only pay for the care, but who's going to provide the care. Clients who have no one to help with long-term care, clients whose children could manage their long-term care, clients with partner spouse that could provide it, clients with family and friends, would never recommend long-term care insurance, and that other. So, I mean, look, and I mean, there's going to be situations where you have clients that literally don't have an extended family, don't have children, those are the folks that absolutely probably need long-term care insurance more than anybody else, because somebody's going to need to help them. You don't want to have anybody rely on Medicare or Medicaid or Medi-Cal in California. That's just not an avenue you would want to recommend any client go down. Most of the time, there's going to be family that's going to support them. Hopefully they have family that supports them. Let me put it that way. I don't want to stereotype. And that's great. What long-term care insurance does is it supplements that support. But what it also does, it allows the family to be the family and not rely on the family to be the caregivers. And that's where I think a lot of people get, a lot of consumers, a lot of our clients kind of forget. My wife is going to take care of me. What does that really look like? And what does that really mean? And at a certain point, your wife stops being your wife because she has to provide all your care or coordinate the care or do all of the things that people don't think about. And so again, it's just our job to have the conversation with them so that they understand, so that they can go back to, again, what I said, making those informed decisions. And then, 100% of clients should have the long-term care conversation with you. Hopefully, if you walk away with nothing else today, you walk away with, okay, Bridget said I got to have the long-term care planning conversation with all my clients. That's checkbox number one. Just start there. Sometimes they'll go some places and sometimes it won't. I had a long-term care specialist. All he does is write long-term care insurance. When I started saying every client, every time a few years ago, and he came back to me and he said, Bridget, he goes, I heard you say that every client, every time. And I thought, well, really? He's like, but then I started to do that. He's like, I didn't automatically vet my clients that were in their 40s that they might not have been ready to talk about long-term care planning. He goes, and you would be surprised. And then he kind of winked at me and he said, maybe you wouldn't be because you told me to have the conversation. So that's just where it starts. Where it goes is up to you and your clients, but it doesn't hurt to have the long-term care planning conversation. And the stats don't matter, your clients do. And that's absolutely imperative and important. And then, and we can segue into this. Let me, long-term care planning is key, right? So I've talked about this a little bit. So while you're looking at this slide, let me talk to you about this legislation a little bit. This is moving. This is moving fast in some respects and slow in others. But at the end of the day, that Washington CARES Act, what Washington did, implementing the state tax for a state-funded long-term care insurance program for anybody working, state of California is coming. And while I would have told you last spring, well, this was last spring, that maybe we weren't looking until 2025 for that to be implemented. The latest data, this might be moving a little bit faster than what the experts even at that time thought. What I'm looking at now, and my colleagues are looking at for California in particular, is it could be anybody. It could be January 1, 2024. Not to say that the legislation is going to pass as of January 1, 2024, but that could very well be the date that is used to determine if somebody can be exempt from the state tax or not. Now, I'm not telling you that is 100% going to be the case. That I don't want anybody to say, oh, we've got 6 months to sell long-term care insurance to everybody in California. But that's what's being considered. And I've now heard that about 4 times in the last 2 weeks. I've heard it enough and read it enough that it's got me standing up a little bit taller and paying attention to this. Because at first, last year, we were talking about this like it was coming. And then it seemed to be on a little bit of a pause. And now it seems like it's coming again, at least from a date perspective. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but there is conversation that it's January 1, 2024 will determine the date if somebody has long-term care insurance, private insurance, that they could be exempt. There's some fine print there too, and I'll talk about that in a second. Post 1/1/2024, they would not be exempt from the tax. They may, if they purchase post 1/1/2024, they may have a reduced tax rate. Potentially, that's what's being proposed potentially in the legislation, but that they would not be exempt from it. So that exemption also is, what I'm reading, again, is contingent upon the long-term care insurance policy that's put into place is a benefit greater than what the state is going to provide. That's a little bit new from some of the information that we have talked about before or that I had in front of me before. So let me just kind of summarize this again for you. 1/1/2024 could be the date that the state determines exemption opportunity or not, exemption possibility or not. It could be, not for sure, but it could be. If you have a private long-term care insurance policy prior to 1/1/24, you should be fine, but that policy has to be provided benefit that's greater than what the state may approve. Now the question becomes, what's the state going to approve? The answer to that, we don't know. What I'm seeing, exactly. There was 5 different plan design options that the task force has been considering. As you can imagine, the greater the benefit pool in the option, the higher the tax rate would be to fund that, the less likely, in my opinion, that the state of California would approve it. So the 2 that are being looked at right now in the most fine print are 2 benefits. One that allows for a $36,000 lifetime maximum, so it's about 1 year worth of coverage. And then the other one, I think I'm rounding up, it's about $140,000 lifetime maximum benefit. So those are the 2. There's different tax rates for each of those. They're not considering them both. It'll either be one or the other, likely. So what does that mean? You'd have to make sure that your clients have a benefit that is greater than either $36,000 or $140,000. Not difficult to do if we're really doing long-term care planning with our clients, and certainly if you're offering a OneAmerica solution with lifetime benefits, you're done. I mean, you're done. That's absolutely. But what we found with Washington is that a lot of solutions were put in place as a tax play to avoid the tax, as opposed to a true long-term care planning solution. So basically, minimum benefit, minimum funded solutions, a lot of those were purchased. I have no idea if that's why California is trying to do something a little bit different. It very well could be, but I just wanted to point that out. So with a minimum benefit option, no matter what your carrier was in the state of Washington, you were able to be exempt. In California, not so much. It's looking like you have to at least have a policy that that exceeds what the state will provide you or give you or allow you to be in order to be exempt. So none of this is 100%. This is a moving target. Like I said at the beginning, we're looking at this continuously. My job to you guys is to help inform you of what we're seeing, what we're reading, what we're paying attention to. And then your job is to talk to your clients, especially the ones in California, so that they can make an informed decision. And with all of the statistics and the data that we talked about this morning, look, at the end of the day, you might have clients that say, you know what, the state funded plan with that tax, that's what I'm going to have to do. And if that's what they have to land with, then so be it. But at least you've assisted them in knowing what's happening, so that if that's the decision that they have to come to for whatever reason, that again, they've made an informed one because you've helped educate them. This is still not really in major publications. A little bit, not so much. I was telling Dawn earlier, my colleagues and I are actually working on an article that we're certainly going to publish within OneAmerica's newsletters. We're going to try to see if we can get that into third party as well, just about the conversation around what's happening. But right now, the job is ours to talk to our clients, not only about long-term care planning in general, but specifically for those in California, what this legislation, it is coming. It is coming. I no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's coming, and let's help them make informed decisions about what makes the most sense for them. So with that, I just wanted to pop up here. This is my contact information with Fox, but yeah, Dawn, go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish, and then I'll jump in.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. This is just my contact information here with my internal partner. Obviously, Dawn and the folks at AIM, you should reach out to first. They can help you, guide you through, the different carriers and opportunities and solutions that they have for you and the clients that you're working with. But if you wanted to reach out to my internal partner or I directly, you can also do that. We work really closely with the folks at AIM, so it'd be all of us together working to support you in your efforts. If you had questions or if you wanted us to help with illustrations or materials or whatever you needed. So I just wanted to pop up our information there for you and hope that you found some of the information this morning valuable. So Dawn, with that, I will hand it back over to you.